Hi, I'm Randy Baldwin, Vice President of Marketing for CareCredit. Welcome to our 2022 podcast series, Innovating Your Hearing Practice. In this podcast series, we will be discussing innovative solutions and strategies to help your practice evolve to meet your professional business goals and ultimately help more patients live connected lives. Today, our guest is Dr. Keith Darrow of Audexperts Group. Hey, Keith, did I get that right?
Darrow, I've heard it both ways, so good enough for me. Randy, it's great to be here with you.
Good. How are you today?
I'm doing really well today. I'm really excited about this podcast today because I love helping audiologists nationwide innovate their practices, right? So why don't you and me, let's just do away with the formalities. Please just call me Keith.
That sounds perfect to me, Keith. I really do share your passion in today's topic, because I think it's so important for private practices to focus on innovating their practice, especially in today's environment. I think we both were very excited for today's topic. But one thing we want to make sure that we don't want to forget to mention formally that our topic today is optimizing your cash flow in your private practice. And before we get into that topic, Keith, what I would like to do is I'd like for you to tell a little bit more about yourself to the audience and what is Audexperts?
Thank you so much for the question, Randy. Like many of the listeners out there, I was a clinical audiologist, and my experience spans over 20 years now. I feel like I'm aging myself. But one interesting thing about, I think, my career journey is that I stepped away from clinical audiology to pursue my PhD in neuroscience from a joint program at Harvard Medical School and MIT. And, during that time, what I really explored how the brain and the ear work together, right? Most importantly, how they're interconnected. So, I could go on and on about this subject, maybe later down the podcast. Maybe someday we'll do a 3-hour anatomy and physiology podcast. But, a lot of people ask me, why did you stop being a clinical audiologist and pursue the PhD?
Keith, I was just thinking that myself. In fact, I loved your beginning of your background here. So I was going to ask you that question. Why did you stop being a clinical audiologist?
Well, when I was a clinical audiologist way back when, which I still am, but back then I was looking for the knowledge that could really help me help more of the millions of people that are living with untreated hearing loss. So I feel like now the combination of my clinical audiology career plus my time at the Harvard University at the labs led me to really get to where I am, which is co-founding of Audexperts. This Audexperts, AUD Experts, it's a company that brings the medical model of treating hearing loss to hearing healthcare practices. We help hearing practices to build their business through community. I mean, what does community mean, right? So what we do is we consult with practices by bringing a community of partners and peers that come together to develop a plan to achieve their business goals. By being a part of Audexperts, and what excites me every day is that we get to create a large impact in helping the millions of people with untreated hearing loss by helping them increase their quality of life. There is such power in being a hearing healthcare provider because we have like a cape on almost. Most people don't see it. It's hidden, under our suits, but hearing providers can create and have such a large impact in their patients and in their patients' families' lives.
Yeah, Keith, I really love how you connected providers with partners and practices. That's great. And I love the analogy that you just had with the having a cape on it. In hearing especially, there is so much opportunities to help patients live connected lives. We have a video on our YouTube channel where a patient named Joan shows how she felt disconnected from the world before she got her hearing taken care of. And I personally think hearing is one of the ways to stay connected, not only in the world, with the patients and individuals, but also in relationships that matter most to our patients, right?
I Wholeheartedly, 100% agree, Randy, that communication is at the core, the foundation of every relationship we have with other people in our lives.
Absolutely. Keith, you are so passionate about helping providers deliver care to patients, but you also help providers achieve their business goals, right? That's probably what your business is all about. So, can you tell us more about how cash flow and why businesses should be focusing on it to help achieve their business goals?
Yes, Randy, exactly. Cash flow is core to running your business. I really, I like to think of it as the gasoline that keeps your business running. Cash flow is simply, it's that amount of money that comes into your business each month, each quarter, or talking the whole year. Cash flow is so important because that's what determines if you can pay your employees, can you meet your bills? Every practice, every business needs a certain amount of cash flow to be able to open the doors and turn on the lights, right? And to stress the importance, what I like to do is when I think about cash flow, I also think about it from the patient's point of view. So, one issue for our patients, and we see this every day,
Mhm.
is asking them to pay large sums of money up front for their hearing devices. Because look, if we're all honest with each other, treating hearing loss is really expensive, and many patients, they genuinely can't afford to part with large sums of money up front. So just the relief, the smile on their face, the ability to move forward with treatment when you let them know that they can finance their devices using a credit card, an Allegro installment loan, or Allegro lease every month. See, patients want a monthly program that fits into their budget. That, Randy, that is how cash flow works.
Keith, you're not going to get any argument from me. And of course, I agree with you 100%.
Look, the truth is, accounting really can be a nightmare for hearing practices. But by focusing and understanding cash flow, it will determine what money you have to reinvest back into your business so that you can grow, so that you can meet your business goals, and so that you can help more people. And just like a patient, you'll need a consistent stream of income. You really, nobody can survive. You can't depend on spikes to grow your business long term.
Keith, I can't agree with you more. I love how you compared provider cash flow to patient cash flow. And in a lot of instances, one needs to feed off of the other. It makes perfect sense to me. And, I was chuckling a little bit to myself as you were saying that accounting can be a nightmare for hearing practices. And we all know that some providers and even some office managers may not be certified public accountants or are not experts with Excel. So if that's the case, what would you recommend on calculating cash flow? How would you recommend it?
What what a great question. And so, Randy, one thing that my father taught me before he passed away was look, Keith, you need two things. You need a good lawyer and you need a good accountant. See, owner operators, what we do is we put our heart and our soul into helping patients to get the care that they need by diagnosing, by recommending treatment. However, there are
Mhm.
some instances where the owner, maybe they just don't have the business knowledge to calculate or to analyze the cash flow like a certified public accountant. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. If
Mhm.
you asked me to develop an accounting system with proper controls and forecasting, there's no way that I can do that at a level of a CPA.
Yeah, I see your point. So if that's the case, what would you suggest then?
Well, like my dad said, partner with a good accountant. So bring in an outside CPA and start by going through your financials to determine, right? What is your practice cash flow? From there, once you have that, your CPA partner can give you the ideas on how to innovate, how to optimize your cash flow to help you set your practice up for success. From my experience, I have never seen a practice grow without number one, knowing what their cash flow is.
Mhm.
Number two, having negative cash flow. Now, what does that mean? One thing that can shrink your practice is to stop reinvesting in your business, to stop reinvesting in marketing, to stop reaching out to your patients and stop innovating in your practice because your cash flow doesn't allow you to. You get kind of backed into a corner and you think, well, I have to stop spending.
Keith, it's like you're reading my mind right now. One thing that many of the industries I oversee are having partnerships in practice. I like to think of it as, what partners can you bring into your practice that can help drive your business forward? And that's what you're talking about here, right? So what is the team of experts a practice can assemble to help guide the owner to the right direction and help achieve their goals? You really highlighted some strong reasons why having a CPA as a partner in practice is very valuable to the practice owner.
Right. Absolutely, Randy. One thing that I hit home with all of my providers, with all of our clients at Aud Experts, treatment is a team sport. It goes beyond just the audiologist, the ENT, the hearing instrument specialist. We can even think bigger than in the practice. What partners? So for example, what partners are you bringing into your practice that help enable care? Could it be someone like Aud Experts, right? What we do is we help you develop a plan to grow your practice and achieve your goals. Or maybe could it be someone like CareCredit or Allegro that provides innovative financing solutions that your patients can choose from so they can say yes to treatment? Or maybe it could be another provider in another specialty like a dentist who refers patients over to you. Treatment is a team sport. And I think of the practice owner as the quarterback.
That's a good analogy. And for those football fans, I would say, what a way to touch down. Especially on these partnerships is extremely important, Keith. One way that can increase cash flow is to get more patients. One thing that I have been hearing in the industry is that is the importance of really tested but not treated patients. If a provider compares a tested, not treated patient to a loyal patient, maybe one that actually did take them up on the treatment or is a repeat patient, the tested but not treated patient may have lower revenues or really, honestly, no revenue at all from them, unless they're doing deep bundling versus bundling. But that's a whole nother subject, right? How can a practice help convert those tested, not treated patients to enhance their cash flow and increase the average patient revenue? Any hits on that?
Yes. So tested, not treated. These are three of my favorite words in the hearing healthcare industry. And why? Why is that? Because these patients, they've already raised their hand once and said, I've got an issue. I'm disconnecting from family, whatever it may be. They present such a unique opportunity to help a patient with their hearing healthcare. One way to identify these, though, and this is where things get complicated in practice, is you have to have a patient management software or a PMS for short. So this type of software can help you take a data-driven approach to your practice. It can help you to mine data and identify opportunities within your patient base, like the tested, not treated. And once you identify those opportunities, you can find ways to bring those patients back to the table and leverage your partners in practice to help that patient move forward with care. So you could use your manufacturer partners by highlighting, say, latest technology and how it meets their needs. You could use your financing partner like CareCredit or Allegro to discuss innovating financing options that you now offer that will enable them to say yes. You could even do a combination of partners to help move the patient forward with care. Many patients are fearful of what they don't understand. If I remember correctly, I think you had a previous podcast with Jim from Fuel. Does that sound about right? Where what he did was he talked about the uncertainty. And so
right.
You can use your PMS, right? So you can use your PMS to identify those patients who are dealing with uncertainty and leverage your other partners to help alleviate that. Ultimately, Look, ultimately, you want to use all of your partners together to help connect patients to a higher quality of life where they see the true value in hearing healthcare.
Yeah, thanks so much, Keith. And for our listeners, if you hadn't had a chance to listen to that podcast we did with Jim from Fuel, take a listen. Go back. It's on Audiology Online. It's on CareCredit as well. But one of the things that you brought out here, Keith, it kind of reminds me of food, and I really like food, but I'm a pizza fan as well. One of my favorite.
Hey, I'm from New York City. You don't have to tell me about pizza.
I tell you, I said, but one of my favorite pizza types is a combination. And the way you describe it, it's like taking many different ingredients, working them together, different partners, right? And once you put it on your pizza, you go and you have it cooked, and you take that big bite out of that first slice. It's like magic to you, right? So it works just like how using partnerships in practice together to help move patients forward with hearing care. So one question that I have I want you to tell me from your experience, is it worth investing in a PMS system as an owner operated practice?
Yes, absolutely. 100%. I don't know how else to say it, because there's such value in having a PMS system. Frankly, and I scratch my head sometimes, if you're still using paper, I don't know how you're doing it, because you might just want to close your doors. One of the many things that your practice has to invest in, and think of it as investing back in your patients, is having the best technology for your practice. And that further cascades into having the best PMS system for your practice. There's many options out there, and your practice will find the right one to see, because a PMS system can help you to see what's happening in your practice. It can help you with your cash flow. You can see trends, and ultimately can help you to set a goal for your practice and measure how you're achieving and how you're building towards that goal.
I totally see your point on this, Keith, but just to be clear, PMS stands for what in your mind?
Well, it's a patient management system, patient management software. Really, I feel it depends on who you ask. I've also heard OMS, office management software, or office management system. It's the heart and soul. It's the software that manages your day-to-day, your database. And like I said, it allows you to set goals, to look at cash flow. It's all in one place. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. And what I was going to say is that a practice really should look at that technology. If it's old, if they don't have one, they really should explore ways in which what systems that are out there. And again, I would look for systems that had an integration. I'll say that CareCredit and Allegro products, we're integrated in many PMS systems. So I would look at that. That just makes it much more easier. In a way, if you think about it, in our own personal lives, we want the best for our needs. So we can look at our practice and say that what is the best technology to meet our needs, innovate our practice, and meet, more importantly, the patient's needs. So based on your experience, again, with helping practices nationwide, how does in-house financing affect cash flow?
Randy, in-house financing, that's a loaded question. But before we talk about in-house financing, I want to back up for just a second. So I have yet, and I know a lot of providers, I know a lot of clinics across this country, I've yet to hear of a provider or anyone on the team who isn't inpatient care for the right reason, which is to help more people. That is the fuel that's keeping professionals up and out of bed every day. However, and back to in-house financing. However, there are some instances where the provider might, bend the rules a little bit because they're trying to help their patient. And when this is done, a provider's big heart can unfortunately turn into a negative bank account. So we may say to our patients, maybe you have a unique credit profile or don't think you can afford this. Providers, and then what they might do is they may invest in a small system to do ACH to collect monthly payments. This is where in-house financing may be born. It's usually born of necessity from a patient who you want to help. But I speak, I speak to this from personal experience. I met this amazing couple. So if you don't mind, I want to tell you this quick story.
Yeah.
I met this amazing couple during my time as an audiologist. They could not afford to pay for the hearing devices up front. So I decided, as a caring, empathetic, big heart provider and practice owner, I decided, heck, I'll figure out how to do in-house financing program for them. So we'll meet their needs. It'll help them with care. And I know it's going to change their lives. They were great people. Randy, they invited me to their wedding.
Oh,
that was how impactful this experience was. But now let's talk from the bank side of things, from the bank account. It took me 16 months just to cover my cost of goods sold, let alone pay for the front office, pay for the fixed expenses, the light bulbs. So 16 months is really not acceptable, right? What I learned, the manufacturers ain't going to let me go 16 months to pay them back. So,
exactly.
What I learned, right? What I learned from this experience is that in a business with a high cost of goods sold, and that's hearing healthcare, in-house financing just doesn't make sense. Yeah. You may have a large accounts receivable, but it may not help you cover your cost of goods sold or your fixed costs when those bills come due, and they come due. Randy, I am so grateful for my partnership with Synchrony in being able to offer and accept now the CareCredit credit card to offer Allegro installment and Allegro lease programs. Patients may select which financing option works best for them, but also these products can help providers to optimize their cash flow because they may not have to wait weeks or months to get paid. It can happen in a matter of days. And as a business owner, I've learned firsthand, the faster your cash flow comes in, the easier it is to pay your bills and to reinvest back in your practice.
Keith, that's an excellent point. Many hearing professionals may know CareCredit and Allegro as a way to help patients move forward with care. They may not see these products as partnerships that can help them optimize their cash flow and keep their business running. Innovating their practice for the future can start with partnerships, right? In your opinion, what are some other ways practices can innovate their practices to help optimize their cash flow?
One of the things I'm always talking to my own team and clients, and I mentioned it earlier in this podcast, is how treatment is a team sport. I'm talking about how patients can hear their best when we all approach treatment together. It really extends beyond the four walls of any hearing practice clinic. When it comes to running a great clinic, where you're looking to reduce the tested not treated and to creating more cash flow, you need to invest in great partners. You might need a great CPA, attorney, marketing agency, and other advisors. That's why I'm so proud of the work and the community of like-minded practices that we have established at Audit Experts. I've been doing this in hearing for 20 years. And my partnerships are what have helped me to grow my business, because there we were. We all came together to help to have more patients move forward with treatment and to build my cash flow.
Okay. Well, Keith, it sounds exciting. We're getting close to the end of our podcast here. And I love to ask every guest or speaker this question. Because our listeners love to hear the different points of view on hearing health and for the industry, I want to ask you this question. How do you see the future of hearing health?
That's a great question. And for me to answer this question, I almost feel like we need to go back a little bit in my hearing. 20 years flies by. The industry really has evolved in those 20 years. So starting pretty young in the hearing industry, I noticed I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but I noticed it was more of a sales type of vibe and
Mm.
less about providing treatment. And so when I left for several years to go and pursue my PhD and I went into the lab, I really like firsthand under the microscope, I started to see the connections of hearing health to overall health, from the connections of the ear to the brain. And so providing treatment for hearing loss really can make all the difference in the world in our patients' lives. However, much of the chatter in our industry now is the emergence of over-the-counter hearing aids, the OTC.
Yeah.
Podcasts and content like this is what allows us to build communities. It allows us to evolve. It allows us to differentiate what we do every day in our practices. Providers should be looking for information that helps them to keep innovating, that helps their practice and empowers them to take care of their patients. Providers should be confident in being a tremendous resource and a partner for their patients' hearing healthcare journey.
I cannot agree with you more, Keith. So part of my duties here at CareCredit is I oversee the optometry and the optical industries as well. And something like this happened in that industry years and years ago. However, private practice was able to innovate their practices in the vision space, right, to compete in that industry. So when big box were selling optical glasses and all that, the independent practices did learn to be a part of that, or to cope, or to reinvigorate and to reinvent themselves so they can be relevant to their patients. So if you had to give our listeners one piece of advice to implement within their practice today, what would that be?
To me, it's really simple. Find a community or find a mentor, find a coach. I always say every great athlete has a great coach. Find somebody that has been in private practice, turn them into one of your partners. Hypothetically, if you meet someone who started out a practice with $500,000 in revenue and they transformed that business into a multi-location $8 million a year revenue practice, don't you think it would be worth talking to that person? So,
Absolutely.
look, right? So for partners to help build your practice, and this is what we do at Aud Experts. We do this by analyzing what has worked in our practices, along with what doesn't work in our practices. And then we take that information and we look to help practices across the country to build a business and a lifestyle that they enjoy. And we want to help practices to leave a legacy, the legacy that they always wanted to leave. I would like to, and I hope you don't mind, I would like to invite all of your listeners, Randy, to experience community and what my team at Aud Experts has to offer. And you can, feel free to go to joindrdarrow.com and we can hop on the phone for an initial conversation to help see if we're good partners.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Keith. You gave a lot of good information, and I'm sure our listeners are going to take this information and apply it into their business. So I want to thank you for taking the time, as well as I want to thank our listeners for tuning in today. And of course, please be on the lookout for our next podcast coming soon to Audiology Online. Have a great rest of your week, building relationships and partnerships and innovating your practices.